As all radio dorks that follow the FCCs the same way that normal people follow Andrew Tate or the Kardashians are aware, the FCC's has recently proposed a $34,000 fine against a hams radio operator. If you are a normal person and you have no idea what I am referring to, allow me to fill you in on all of the details. Allegedly, the FCC asserts that in 2021, a Mr. Frawley of Lewiston, Idaho, was attempting to direct water-dropping helicopters during a wildfire using his two-way radio. The FCC later issued a notice of apparent liability, which is like a fine, for $34,000. However, contrary to popular internet belief, the FCC did not swoop in and arrest Mr. Frawley on the scene. It was on-scene fire personnel that told Mr. Frawley to cease and desist from being an idiot, and then later the law enforcement branch of the U.S. Forest Service followed up with him and confirmed that, Mr. Frawley allegedly confirmed that he was indeed being a complete and utter idiot with his radio. Allegedly. It was only then, after the Forest Service contacted the FCC's, and then after about a year, that the FCC's issued a notice of apparent liability for $34,000, which is like a fine. Mr. Frawley then appealed that notice of liability, and then this week the FCC's denied that appeal, meaning that Mr. Frawley is apparently still liable for that $34,000. Whether or not Mr. Frawley ever actually pays and how or if the FCC's ever goes about actually collecting it is an entirely different story. The point here is that this case has been cited by several morons leaving comments on my previous videos as proof that I have been wrong when I have said that based on the FCC's enforcement record of the past 10 or 15 years, the FCC's have gone after virtually nobody for simply talking with their friends on a ham radio without a license, or for using a non-approved radio like the Boofwang UV5R ham radio on GMRS frequencies, as some people keep claiming that the FCC's do all the time. First of all, allow me to point out that this is only one enforcement of this type in the last year or so. The FCC's has not been issuing these fines all the time, as the fairy tale tellers would lead us to believe. Second of all, Mr. Frawley was not simply talking with his friends on a hams radio without a license. Mr. Frawley was allegedly interfering with emergency personnel responding to an emergency situation, flying emergency helicopters on emergency frequencies. And this is not in any way, shape, or form the same thing as talking to his friends on a ham radio without a license. It is this kind of alleged stupidity that the FCC's should not only be going after, but the FCC's should be going after it more and more aggressively, because it is that kind of absolute dickheadery that needs to be punished. So does this mean that I am saying that you should talk to your friends on a hams or GMRS radio without a permission slip from the government? No, I am not saying that, nor have I ever said that. What I am saying to you right now is that any time some people tell you fairy tales about what will happen if you simply do not have a license when talking to your friends, you should ask them for a link to the enforcement action in the FCC's enforcement database so that they can confirm their story. Because if that fairy tale allegedly happened in the last 10 or 15 years, if it is not listed on the FCC's website, then they are lying to you. And if the fairy tale occurred more than 15 years ago, then it really doesn't apply today at all. And if the FCC's enforcement record of the last 10 or 15 years makes anyone sad or angry, they should probably direct that anger and sadness not at some YouTube hobo talking about it on YouTube. Instead, they should probably direct all of that pent-up frustration and anger at the FCC's, where it might actually do some good.